There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the noise fades, not because the world suddenly becomes kinder, but because heaven itself pauses. If you've been waking up around 3:33 a.m. feeling an unexplainable stillness, understand this. Silence is not absence. It's preparation. This is the moment before a divine announcement, when the universe holds its breath because your name is about to be spoken in higher realms. You didn't imagine the weight you've been carrying. The nights of questioning, the exhaustion that sleep couldn't fix, the feeling that something huge was approaching but refused to show its face. These were not punishments. They were confirmations. Heaven does not prepare crowns in noisy seasons. It does so in quiet ones, where ego dissolves and obedience is proven. Many people assume elevation feels exciting at first, but the truth, it often feels lonely. That loneliness wasn't rejection, it was separation. God had to remove distractions so your spirit could hear clearly. And now, at 3:33, clarity arrives not as words but as knowing. This is why your past had to collapse the way it did. Relationships faded. Support disappeared. Even your own confidence shook at times, not because you were weak, but because strength had to be rebuilt from something unshakable. Comment below if this season of isolation changed you forever. If this resonates, pause for a second. Take a breath. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Mirror of the Soul, because messages like this don't find you by accident. They find you by alignment. Across spiritual traditions, 3:33 represents divine alignment, mind, body, and spirit moving as one. It's the hour where veils thin, where the ego sleeps, and the soul speaks clearly. If you've been awakened at this time repeatedly, it's because your spirit is being briefed before your life changes. This hour isn't about fear, it's about readiness. Heaven doesn't interrupt sleep without reason. You are being trained to listen without seeing, to trust without proof. That's why your intuition sharpened, why lies became unbearable, why fake environments drained you instantly. These are signs of spiritual authority activating. Science even supports this in subtle ways. The human brain enters deep theta states during early morning hours, ideal for downloads, insights, and emotional processing. What religion calls revelation, psychology calls integration. Either way, transformation was happening. You weren't losing your mind, you were upgrading it. Old versions of you could not walk into what's next, so they had to dissolve. Think about it. Would a crown fit a head still bowed in doubt? If you've been seeing repeated numbers, especially threes, write "I receive" in the comments. And don't forget to like this video. Your engagement tells the algorithm and the universe that you're ready for more truth. Let's be honest, some of what you survived should have destroyed you. Betrayal from people you prayed for, doors closing without explanation, being misunderstood while carrying pure intentions. But notice this, you didn't turn bitter, you turned aware. Chosen ones are not spared from pain, they are shaped by it. Every test was designed to strip illusions, not dignity. You learned discernment the hard way. You learned silence when words were wasted. You learned restraint when revenge was tempting. These are royal traits. History proves this pattern. Every crowned leader, spiritual or earthly, was first isolated, tested, and doubted. Moses fled. Joseph was imprisoned. Even modern psychology confirms that post-traumatic growth creates stronger leadership capacity than comfort ever could. External success is loud. Internal victory is quiet. And heaven cares far more about the inner test, the one no one applauds. The moment you chose integrity over applause, peace over chaos, growth over ego, that's when the crown began forming. You were tested in secrecy, when no one was watching, when you could have chosen revenge but chose restraint, when you could have become cold but stayed compassionate. These moments weren't wasted, they were recorded. Spiritual law is clear. Authority follows responsibility, power follows humility, and leadership follows self-mastery. That's why your glow-up wasn't cosmetic, it was character-based. People may not understand why you changed, but heaven does. This is also why some people fell away when you healed. They were connected to your wounds, not your destiny. Elevation always exposes misalignment, and that's not loss, that's mercy. If you feel lighter lately, even without answers, that's confirmation. Type "I'm ready" if you feel the shift, and stay connected with Mirror of the Soul. This channel exists for souls crossing thresholds like yours. What felt like delay was actually design. While you questioned timing, heaven was refining placement. Crowns are not rewards, they are responsibilities, and you were being trained to wear it without letting it wear you. That's why things unfolded slowly, why shortcuts disappeared, why you had to learn patience the hard way. Because rushed elevation destroys character, but earned elevation strengthens it. You weren't being held back, you were being protected. Now notice how doors are subtly opening, conversations shifting, opportunities appearing without force. That's alignment. That's what happens when preparation meets divine timing. You're not entering a season of noise, you're entering a season of authority. People will feel your presence before you speak. Your words will carry weight. Your silence will speak louder than explanations ever did. Stay grounded, stay grateful, and remember, crowns don't change who you are, they reveal it. Have you noticed the shift? Some people look at you with curiosity now, others with discomfort, a few with sudden respect they never gave before. That's not imagination, that's energy. When a chosen one's frequency rises, it becomes impossible to ignore. Even those who once underestimated you can now feel something has changed, even if they can't name it. You didn't suddenly become important. You always were. What changed is that you stopped shrinking. Your posture shifted. Your voice steadied. Your eyes no longer asked for permission. That subtle inner authority is what people respond to. It's the silent signature of someone who has passed through fire and come back aligned. Psychology calls this post-traumatic confidence. Spirituality calls it activation. Either way, it happens when someone survives deep emotional pressure and comes out self-aware instead of broken. That's why you no longer tolerate nonsense. You're not rude, you're refined. Some will try to pull you back into old versions of yourself. But pay attention. If something no longer resonates, it means you've outgrown it. Elevation always creates distance from what once felt normal. There was a time when your name was constantly in other people's mouths. Doubt, gossip, mockery, now silence. That silence is not peace, it's recognition. They finally realized they were speaking against someone heaven was backing. When your life begins aligning, your haters don't get louder, they get cautious. Because deep down, they feel it. The same universe that once allowed them to misunderstand you is now revealing who you really are. And people become quiet when they realize they were wrong. This is spiritual law. When you stop reacting, the drama dies. When you stop proving, truth speaks. That's why you don't feel the need to defend yourself anymore. Your growth is doing the talking. Even research shows that emotionally regulated individuals are harder to manipulate, provoke, or control. You became emotionally sovereign, and that's why manipulation stopped working. At some point you got tired, tired of proving, tired of explaining, tired of chasing people who only valued you when you were convenient. That exhaustion wasn't weakness, it was wisdom arriving. The moment you chose peace over performance, alignment began. You stopped begging for recognition and started honoring your own worth. That's when the universe leaned in and said, "Now you're ready." Manifestation experts call this the law of detachment. Spiritual teachers call it surrender. When you release desperation, you create space for divine orchestration. And that's exactly what happened. Opportunities didn't disappear, they reorganized. Relationships didn't fail, they revealed truth. You didn't lose anything real, you gained clarity. If you've let go of something that once controlled your emotions, comment, "I released it." You are not behind, you are finally aligned. Some people are unsettled by your calm, others by your boundaries, a few by your confidence, but none of that is your problem. Your presence is now a mirror. It reflects who people are, not who you used to be. When you healed, you stopped absorbing chaos. You stopped playing small to make others feel big, and that makes insecure people uneasy, but grounded people will feel safe around you. That's how you know you've changed. Your nervous system has regulated. Your emotions no longer swing wildly, and that stability is rare in a world addicted to drama. You didn't become cold, you became centered. Even neuroscience shows that emotionally stable individuals create psychological pressure in unstable environments. Your peace challenges their patterns. Have you felt like your calm now disturbs others? That's not a flaw, that's authority. Like this video if you're done apologizing for your growth. For a long time you were hidden, not forgotten, protected. Like a seed beneath soil, your growth happened in silence. But now the surface is cracking. Visibility is coming. This doesn't mean fame, it means recognition. The right people will see you, the right opportunities will find you, and the right doors will open without force. You don't have to announce yourself. Your energy will introduce you. That's what happens when preparation meets divine timing, and that's why this season feels different. But remember, visibility attracts both support and envy. Stay humble, stay wise, stay aligned. Crowns draw attention, but character keeps them. There was a quiet grief in outgrowing your old life, not because it was bad, but because it was familiar. You began to feel out of place in rooms that once felt like home. Conversations felt shallow, energy felt heavy, and suddenly you knew, I can't go back to who I was. That discomfort wasn't arrogance, it was alignment. Growth always feels lonely at first because it separates you from what no longer matches your frequency. You didn't reject anyone, you simply evolved beyond environments that couldn't sustain your spirit. This is a documented psychological shift too. When people experience deep transformation, their values and emotional thresholds change. What once felt acceptable now feels unbearable. You didn't become difficult, you became self-aware. That's why you crave depth now, truth, meaning. You're no longer entertained by surface-level living. You are being prepared for impact. You never knew how powerful you were until life tried to crush you. The nights you cried alone, the days you kept showing up despite heartbreak, those were not moments of weakness, they were moments of initiation. Your nervous system rewired, your soul toughened, your intuition sharpened. That's why you no longer panic the way you used to. Chaos doesn't control you anymore, you observe it. Spiritual warriors are not loud, they are calm under pressure, and that calm is what gives them authority. That's what people feel when they're around you now. Science even proves it. People who survive prolonged emotional stress develop stronger emotional regulation and leadership capacity. You weren't just surviving, you were training. If you're proud of how far you've come, even if no one else saw the fight, type I survived. You earned this evolution. Think back to how many times things almost went wrong, but didn't. Accidents avoided. Betrayals exposed before damage was done. Doors that closed just in time. That wasn't luck, that was intervention. When a crown is being prepared, protection increases. You are too important to be left vulnerable now. That's why situations shift at the last minute. That's why some people suddenly reveal their true intentions. Spiritual alignment creates a form of energetic immunity. You may not see it, but forces you cannot name have been redirecting you. Even psychology supports this. When intuition is developed, people subconsciously avoid danger better. Your spirit learned how to listen. Before every major rise, there is a final release. A person, a habit, a version of you that no longer belongs. And this time it hurt, but you didn't beg it to stay. That's how you know you're ready. You chose alignment over attachment, growth over comfort, and that choice unlocks the next level. Some people won't go where you're going, not because they're bad, but because they're not meant to. Letting go isn't abandonment, it's spiritual maturity. This is why you feel lighter now. Even if you're sad, even if you're nostalgic, you made the right decision. Heaven doesn't crown people to make them superior. It crowns them to make them responsible. What's coming into your life isn't about ego, it's about service, influence, and impact. Your voice will matter, your story will heal, your presence will shift rooms. That's why you had to suffer, it gave you compassion, not bitterness. You are not being elevated above others. You are being positioned to help others rise. That's what real leadership looks like. The crown is invisible, but its weight is real, and you were trained to carry it. If you feel called to something bigger than yourself, even if you don't fully understand it yet, comment, "I feel the call." There was a time when you would over-explain, overgive, and overextend just to be seen, but something shifted inside you. You realized that what is meant for you does not require you to bleed for it. Peace replaced panic. Self-respect replaced self-doubt. That is when heaven nodded. When you stopped begging, you stepped into alignment. When you stopped chasing, things began moving toward you. This is not coincidence. It is spiritual law. People now meet you differently because you meet yourself differently. You no longer negotiate your worth. You simply exist in it. This is royal energy, quiet, unshakable, certain. If you no longer chase validation, comment, "I stand in my worth." What's coming for you does not depend on approval. It does not need permission. It has been scheduled in divine time and nothing delayed it, only prepared it. That's why even when you fell, you didn't stay down. Even when you were rejected, something always redirected you. Your rise is not loud, but it is inevitable. You may not see the full staircase yet, but you're already climbing it. And each step feels easier because you are no longer carrying emotional weight from your past. Your life is entering a season of flow, not because it will be easy, but because you are ready. If you feel momentum building, type "it's happening." People will soon meet a version of you they cannot manipulate, confuse, or diminish, not because you are hardened, but because you are centered. Your words will land differently. Your presence will command respect. Your energy will feel safe, strong, and sovereign. This is who you were always meant to be, just now without fear, without self-betrayal, without hesitation. The old you was forged in pain. The new you is born from clarity. And clarity is power. Not out of hatred, not out of revenge, but out of awareness. They will see who you became, and they will know they misjudged you. You won't need closure. Your life will be the closure. You don't have to confront anyone. You don't have to explain anything. Your growth will speak louder than arguments ever could. Grace is your revenge. Peace is your victory. And silence will say everything. At 3:33 a.m., heaven did not wake you to frighten you. It woke you to anoint you. The test is over. The training is complete. The suffering has meaning now. You are stepping into a season where your life will finally match your spirit. So walk tall, speak true, stay humble, and wear your invisible crown with quiet confidence. If this spoke to your soul, like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who is silently walking this same path. Drop a comment below. What did your hardest season teach you about who you really are? This is Mirror of the Soul, and you didn't find this message. It found you.